Black House Talk. RadioDR.co.za. deeplyrooted.world/RadioDR. You gotta be like the guy that owns this thing to speak like this. Hello, Prof.
Hello, Zila.
How are you doing?
I'm great, Zila. How are you, Zila?
you know, another episode, another day.
On a Saturday. It'll make it sound like this is not awesome. This is actually happening.
I mean, yeah.
This was an idea, and it's a reality now.
We're heading to our second birthday in May. Great.
Second birthday.
You can introduce today's guest that you bumped into him jogging.
Yeah, this is the second guest that I'm into while jogging. I'm telling you, there's alignment in this stuff, man.
Yeah.
Okay,
Black House Talk.
We
People made proper jogging. The subtitle. Let's go.
Okay, we have Wandile. Okay, cool. Please introduce yourself, please.
My name is Wandile. Wandile Msomi. I'm from Durban. Lived 23 years in Joburg, and that's where we met. And now I'm out here, living the dream, bro. Waking up every day to sunshine. This place
okay, cool.
Is dope.
He's skipping over a bunch of stuff. Basically, you like, in a sense, you're almost like one of the forefathers of street culture.
Really, that's pretty deep.
That's some heavy. That's some
Yeah,
heavy.
whether or not you want to acknowledge it, though, that's.
Look, I mean,
you're like generation one. In fact, you're like generation zero when it comes to.
Look, it's like one of those things where like 94 happened, and then I was one of the generations that was like kind of the first to like really get to a point where all the fruit that was being bared, we got to partake,
Yeah.
And like, I take that very seriously. I take that more seriously than like street culture or any of the other things. Like it's like one of those things where like people like want to talk about stuff or whatever. Like want to talk to me about cars. I'm like, bro, we were doing that in '98. Like, you know what I mean? not knowing that like this thing was so politically charged and so economically charged also. Like, so like the whole pump and dump thing. We didn't know, So there we are now. People are making money doing this. All of a sudden, there's money for us to be able to do all these things that we want to do. Then all of a sudden, the carpet gets pulled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So what do you mean by the pump and dump thing?
Well, it's like kind of like basic economics of getting people in debt.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
yes.
we all went buck. I mean, dude, times were so good. Boom Shaka was dancing upside down on stage, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's how good the times were. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, like,
it was like a nice
Kwaito
illusion.
was being done by jazz artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was
That's
like the music.
Sounds so wild. Like,
you know what I mean?
You can hear it in the tapes today, bro.
Like, I mean, the
No, but
music
it
you
feels
can
like
still
it's-
play. You can still play it in clubs.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It was so well, like done, and then to realize as you grow up that okay, cool, this whole thing was a construction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was like, dude, I remember my friend Tobego and I used to take his dad's car, drive this Volvo Turbo, and drive to Tebe's club and dance all night. Then, like, you know what I mean? There'd be a kusheshe inside the club or like parked outside, and there's like all this stuff.
Shit.
No, I mean, like, for sure.
Yeah.
But it was like, my parents got out of the ANC, went corporate, and then that black class got up.
Yeah.
So now you're sitting there and you have all this privilege, and now you want to share it. Because at the end of the day, you also are confused. You're young. You don't understand why people don't have. Like, you know what I mean? And then why me? You know what I mean? Like, why am I the person who's sitting here?
How your normal is not the same as everybody else.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's like, dude, I'm traveling the world in 99. Like, Millennium 2000, like the Millennium, whatever, like the whole...
Yeah, the Y2K.
Y2K, that whole construct for ripping off the world. Anyway, that particular construct, I was in London,
Wow.
like, just like, like, and not like being like, but it's just so that you understand the basis of like where I'm coming from with what like I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just got to a point where it's been good, G. Like, fuck, man, you know what I mean? It's been like, it's been a good time, and just all it really is just been trying to share it with my friends,
Yeah.
you know, and like my friends for sure, and then my family taking care of family, you know, like, so it's like, I kind of feel a little bit terrible that like I didn't spend a lot of time with family, you know. I was living in Joburg, everyone was living here in Durban and that type of thing. So like that, on that aspect,
Yeah.
there's like that level of guilt that I feel, you know. But other than that, man, it was like,
Yeah, but from what
good
you were
time.
doing, I don't know if it was possible to actually properly eat in Durban from what you were doing.
look, there was. It's like the harbor's right here. That's why I'm here. The harbor's here, G.
I was actually looking at that the whole time. Like my last trip, I was out my window. I see the whole view, like the whole view of Durban, the sea, and you realize KwaZulu Natal. The white people said, "Okay, you got gold, but we're the closest ports. How else are you gonna take it out the
Yeah.
country?" And they said, "Okay, sure, take everything. We've got the ports." It's fucking import. If your business in Durban does not end up being an import-export situation,
Like, what are you doing
like,
here?
what are you doing here? That
Yeah,
is the strength of the city.
That's the strength of the city. Like the city, it's like you walk into factories. Like I got into clothing a little bit. We were making clothes for Mr. Price and that type of thing with my mom. Like, dog, it was beautiful. Like I got to work with my mom and I got to see that tenacity that fed me.
Oh
For
yeah,
so long.
that's actually quite crazy to think about it like
You know
that,
what I
though.
mean? Like I got to see it live.
When you get
like,
to see that fire, that
Yeah,
feel,
yeah,
that
that,
this
like,
is
Smart
how-
woman
this is
was
where I
able
come
to
from.
make
You know what I'm
deals,
saying?
you know.
Like,
Oh, that's
this
why,
is, this
you
is
know.
the thing that my dad fell in love with.
Yeah.
You know? And like it's like it was dope to go through that experience and then also get to a point where you also see that even somebody of her magnitude, the game is deeper. You know?
And she,
Like-
and maybe I'm speaking a bit, but like I have a feeling that she really gets like its worth, like why it's important for like her to succeed, for you to succeed, for you to press it
Yeah,
down to
and-
the
and-
other people, you know.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's all in union because at the end of the day, it's like I love what COVID's done to some people. I got
Yeah.
people saying hi to me.
Yeah.
They
Like
wouldn't
it's woken
even,
up
you know
some
what I'm
people.
saying? Like it's like, you know what I mean?
Wake
like,
up!
yeah, it's like woken up
The
some
great
people.
resets
you
of
know?
our time.
Yeah. And my dad and I have this thing that we always say, like him and I, like every time we sit down, because like I sit with my father and we have these deep
Oh, that's really
deep
dope.
conversations,
Like,
you know.
I-
Yeah. Like
that's some
sometimes also,
valuable
dude, it's beautiful
relationship.
to fight with that man, Doug. Walking away, like what, like you know what I mean? Having a conversation. And our rule is we never walk away from each other. That's the
Yeah.
rule. No matter how intense the conversation
But
is.
have you always had this kind of relationship with him?
No, that's the thing is that like my dad's been busy getting the squab.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like my dad's retired, and now I'm sitting with him, and he's finding it hard to find people of his.
Oh, yeah, it's basically within his league in a sense.
And wavelength.
Yeah, like on his
Yeah.
wavelength is
Yeah.
perfect word. Because you don't. I mean, you look. You know, at the end of the day, you don't want to undermine people. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying, Prof, what you said is wrong. Like, you know what I mean. But it's just. I mean, it's like let's be a little bit more eloquent before people.
Feel sometimes
You know what I mean?
We
Like-
never say things to shut people out, but
Yeah.
you know, at the same time we say them to help you realize, I guess, like, and that's the thing. A lot of like fights and arguments with people just come from like just a miscommunication of the intent of the word. I've said it in a harsh way for you to wake up, not for you to attack me. Cause,
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, like we're actually the opposite when it comes to this. I prefer saying it the harsh way to wake you up, and he'll find the wavelength too.
No, I mean, the man is
I'm more
a
gentle.
very, very. I mean, you gravitate towards the man's energy.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like Prof is. It's like like what a
he's,
G.
he's a gentle
Yeah,
giant.
he's a G. He's a G.
Oh, wait, thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
Yeah,
but
man.
at the same time, what it is that like what I've noticed about the harsher approach is going back to what my dad and I like to explain. Like also like my dad and I always say like this is why we don't get invited to the parties. You know what I mean?
With the harsher approach.
No, because it's like what you're doing is that you're getting to a point where you're like trying to ask yourself questions, and then getting to a point where you are also ridiculing yourself.
Yeah.
In terms of like, where do I stand? Where am I in this climate that we're in? Like, how am I contributing to the climate? You know what I mean? And then of course, it because we all have vanity. I'm one to say that I'm vain, and it's like being like the thing of like, oh yeah, no, people walking around and being like, yeah, like I'm not gay. It's like, how then can you have male friends? You know what I mean? Like, and then get to a point where there's some level of you where there's love. It may vary person to person.
There's a wall of society you slap into. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you know, my dad and I always say we don't get invited to the parties because at the end of the day, the things that we're talking about, which is what you're saying, it's triggering.
Yeah,
I saw
You
my
can
dad
trigger people. Like, dude, sometimes it gets to a point where I can trigger people off like the most basis of things, and because I'm like a man of short stature, you know. It's not me getting to a point where I'm going to fight you with my fist.
Sure.
Dog, I'll touch you, dog. You know what I mean? Like, I'll touch you.
soul,
Like,
my
I
nigga.
will. I'll touch your soul. Like, like I remember once I was like, I was getting bullied at school. And I was like, it was like 2 weeks of this guy just like pounding on me, you know?
Yeah.
And then the one day, can I swear on this?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy says to me, "You motherfucker," and then I was like, "Your mother's next." And then I remember like how like it just shook him. You know what I mean? And I think I took that shit from I took that stuff from like an Eddie Murphy like skit or something. You know what I mean? Like
good reaction, yeah.
yeah. And then I remember just being like, "Dog, you don't even have to touch people. Like I don't even have to get physical. All I have to do is just use my
with
words."
the power of words.
Power of words, G.
It's like, yeah, so it is triggering, you know, like, and then watching people get triggered is usually the excitement. Because what you're doing is that you're watching somebody's, like, cognitive dissonance get to a point where now they like, wait, hold on, like, I didn't come to this place. Why am I here?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like sobering up in a
like-
club.
It's
and
like
then being like,
I said this fact that he's a motherfucker, but I simply forgot the fact that I also have a mother.
Yeah.
He's just
You know
like,
what I
that's
mean?
literally, how did I open this door?
yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? And then at the
hilarious.
same time, it's triggering because, like, I don't know what his mother's situation is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Like, you don't
now
know
when
what
you realize
stories
it
get
later,
unboxed
when you're
within it.
older, you're like, damn, dude, like, you know. And I remember the dude stalked. Never touched me again. You know what I mean? Like, never touched me again. And it's just like, you sit there and you're like looking at it and you can understand it's triggering.
The outcome was there. It worked, man.
I mean, the outcome is there. Like,
the
don't be
desired-
stupid. Yeah, the desired effect. Yeah, for sure, 100%.
It's
Yeah.
like, bullying is such a hard thing to navigate.
It is one of those things. But like, I think like the understanding of psychology is
Yeah.
great. You know?
What was there only one person that you ever got bullied by? Because like generally, it's like it tends to be a pattern with people. 'Cause,
I
like,
just always had this. I have this thing where like, if you look at me, you're not gonna tell like what class or what thing or you know what I mean. Like,
I find it with most people, like, the only time you really know a rich kid's a rich kid is if a rich kid's walking around acting like a rich kid, you know, like,
Yeah.
like, and that comes from home, like, and now that I understand it, looking at all, I was a lower middle income kid, hanging around upper middle income, rich people. So you look at it in a sense where, like, and I say this because at some point as a kid you want to be rich, you want to come from a rich family, but then it's like, nah, dog. As you grow up, you realize with your family, you actually have it better off than the rest of the country just by having two parents, you know?
Yeah. Two parents,
Just
like,
two
yeah,
parents,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
you're going to a good school, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, all
Yeah.
of those things, like, and it's the same thing. What you might have a problem with your dad not being there, my dad also wasn't there because he was also working. You know, like it's the same problems for kids, dude. Like it's the same thing, but it gets to a point. It gets to a point where you need to realize your situation, build your goals, navigate the people around you, your family, and then make a plan of life from there. And that's the failure point for a lot of us, is that we fuck up in our 20s and we never make it back out to like that plan.
Yeah, but also
And you
it's-
know the thing that you were saying like about falling, like that's the beauty of like what I've gotten to experience.
Yeah.
As a skateboarder, I've fallen so many times. Like,
Oh
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
it's like every time you're out there, your metaphors for life get strengthened. In terms of
it's like,
being
you know
forced
what
to
I
get
mean?
up.
Like, it's like your cognition
Yes.
for like
How to deal with
positioning
failure.
yourself for
and-
success.
yeah.
You know, like, and how to deal with failure. Like,
Yeah.
how to, like, get to a point where you forgive yourself and those types of things. It's like really like, you know, I mean,
And this is the importance of learning at least one skill in life. Because like it's not necessarily about the skill is gonna make me money. It's about like, dude, you get to learn yourself. You get to
Learning how to learn.
Yeah.
And the processes of learning of not knowing something, getting better at knowing something, and being a master of something. That process, and it doesn't have to be something big every day. Like moving to a new job. Like it's 3 months down the line, I've got this. You know, that process, and then putting it in different places of your life.
Yeah.
It's self-discipline and into self-love.
It's like even
yeah,
with
it's like a kind of like it's like the one like I once like had an interview or something, and I wrote in there like I've worked really hard to be this fucked up.
yeah.
You know, and sometimes I
Which is
have
pretty
kids
cool,
coming
though.
up to me. I have kids coming up to me and they're like, "Yo, man, I read that thing and it was rad." You know, like, and I'm like, I'm not trying to make you into a derelict or like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
No, but it's just to take ownership of yourself.
yeah, like that
Because,
thing that
like-
like actually I've worked really hard.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like I've woken up like every day to like get to a point where I'm like kind of seeing this thing a little bit more clear.
Yeah.
You know, and some of it is just falling and getting up. You know, falling and getting up.
Most deaf, dude, because life is about good times and then sometimes you have problems.
Yeah.
And then how you get through those problems is, have you been attentive in those parts where life was good? Have you been paying your insurance of making sure, like, if you have a kid, the insurance for your kid is making sure there's food, making sure there's clothes, all of those things. Have you done those things when times are good, so that when times are bad, the overflow of the good kind of flows into the bad times, and you kind of make the bad times a bit better because you're good in the good times, you know?
Yeah.
It's a weird circle, and there's no one given way for anybody's life because there's way too many variables.
I
in
mean,
life.
there's so many variables.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm like at the moment, like so I decided, I kind of was like sitting there and I was thinking to myself, like I've been in business working for myself for 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm unemployable, straight up. Like I'm like completely unemployable.
Oh, yeah,
I don't listen
unemployable
to
in that
instruction
sense,
really
yeah.
well. I'm not like the type of person who listens to instruction very well. I frustrate like even my family. You know what I mean? Because I have these things where I'm like, I have this
They
in my
raised you
mind.
though.
Yeah.
Like you created me like this. How'd you expect that?
I mean, it's like I get to a point where I frustrate a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like, and I see that because I have like my ways of like channeling my things, and then I have that privilege of being like, okay, cool, that was that was a mistake.
Yeah, the introspection is
Reset
also
button,
there, I guess.
you know what I mean? And the thing is that like I decided that I really want to learn why outcomes and situations when I'm doing so and so and figuring it out this way, when I then have worked this package in the lab, I then decide, okay, cool, I want to try and when I've worked the situation in the lab, I now want to release this thing, right? Like any good product, you know what I mean?
Let's distribute this thing. Let's
Yeah,
go.
you know, and then I'd always get outcomes where I'm just like, wait, hold on, like this is clear as day. Like, why isn't like this thing being seen or heard? Like, I'm like, it's like we're putting black kids on.
Yeah.
It's like
It's what everybody
you know
says
what
they want.
Everybody wants. Like you, and then you're going into putting thousands of rands into the hundreds of thousands into projects. Like you like cool, like you know what I mean, like.
And then the game starts to change.
Yeah, then you like we're getting the thing, and then I got beaten up so bad 4 years ago by business that I decided I'm going to read. So then I picked up a book by Robert Sapolsky called Behave. Dog, I've been reading this book. I'm like 100 pages in, and I have to put it down every time because it's just
Like it hits, it comes with those uppercuts.
it flows, you know. And then you like sitting reading this thing, and you start to like get to a point where you realize all decisions that people are making take out the equations of fluoride, take out the equations of like heavy metals affecting people's brains and all that stuff, right? This is also like people will make decisions based on past traumas.
Yeah.
And these traumas are not even immediate. These are things that are even inside the DNA.
Yes, I do. That stuff is so terrifying, bro.
Like, it's like, you know what I mean? And then you're like, okay, cool, rad, I see that. Then you start adding sugar.
Yeah, and sugar is like,
you know what I mean.
like
then you start
anxiety,
like, you know what I'm saying, like,
depression.
and then you start getting to a point where you're like sitting there and you're like, yo, dog, we had like a psychological, like we had chemical warfare program called Project Coast. You know what I mean?
I've read the South African one.
Yeah,
when they're trying to find
Informer brother.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, Project Coast was a secret like government, the apartheid government had. So they were trying to find a way to kill black people. Like, you know, right?
Yeah.
So the way the hoods are built, like there's one way in and out.
Already psychologically, the hoods are built in a way to destroy you.
In and out. So the next part of that should have been like them finding a way to kind of like population control, like next level shit.
Yeah.
Where you can't even pick it up, it's them, they can deny it. It's even made it into some new ass series, bro. Like,
I mean, my mom, like, I was talking to her this morning, you know, and then we were like, I was like, Mom, like, because she was like, you know, once you need to stop talking like this, you know, and I was like, Mom, Zulu police are gone. You know what I'm saying? Like Third Force is like not here. Like, you know what I mean? There's no death squads anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, like, get out of this thing. But like the psychological,
but it's hard though.
It's hard.
Dude, the psychological violence
so,
that was like brought onto people is so crazy that like when you are doing business and conducting business with certain
it's still there.
People,
it's still there with you.
You can see that thing is there.
Yeah.
Just how people at work just sometimes deal with white people. Obviously, I'm privileged enough to go to school for like 12 years, fucking bumping into these fucking cunts, fighting with them, being friends with some of them. You know, like I learned how to deal with them without the thing of, hey, umlungulo. You know, and it's.
And that takes training within itself.
It was training. That's what I'm saying. That was my training. And some people don't have that.
Yeah.
They'll always, like, they're so far removed. They don't know. This is just another fucker, another cunt. He goes home and he drinks Black Label like you know.
Yeah.
Like, that element to them is so far removed because of the monster of, obviously, TV, dude. Like, all of the stuff.
Television.
We grew up watching, like...
That thing needs to be destroyed. And even the fact...
Smash your TVs.
Even the fact...
The TV pays for the studio, dog.
No. Look, I'm just saying, like... it's one of those things where, like, you really need to, like anything, drink alcohol.
In moderation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't, like, have something with the code name Tell Your Vision, and then you're going to get to a point where you, like, are watching this thing, and then you're not going to be getting to that. You know what I mean? That it's telling you how to envision your life.
Yes, it's true. Because, like, a lot of reference points that we first develop as children is from TV. Because, like, our parents are not exposing us to a lot of shit.
Yeah.
TV takes you everywhere. And you've been everywhere in the world because of TV.
Like, even, like, now, I can tell you, there's places in the world I can tell you that this is San Francisco, this is this.
Yeah,
is
somebody dropped you in Paris right now, you know exactly where you are.
Yeah, lots of skate videos I've watched.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no, that's a famous like skate spot, like, you know,
Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah. You know, like this is the thing, this is the history, yada yada, you know. I mean, the thing that's lovely about, like, even now, like, I guess, is that I'm enjoying that, like, I have friends who are growing up and I've watched them grow up young, because my generation in what I do have never gotten
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 38.
All right, cool.
Yeah, you know, so, like, my generation, like everything that I've possibly ever gotten up to.
Funny enough.
Homies, like, they don't get it. Like,
I was listening to
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like being like there's certain ideas that the quite ahead okay, it's not. I don't even want to use the word ahead of the times. It's like there's a certain level of comfort that's required for certain conversations to be engaged with. I guess
Yeah.
it's like Maslow's hierarchy. So then it's like, yeah, dude, a lot of my peers did not come from a certain level of comfort. So therefore, them having reached this point of being able to engage with ish is not there. So
Yeah.
I imagine it's easier to connect with the younger ones. But then there's certain things that are lacking in terms of life experience to be able to fully connect with
But
it.
the thing that's beautiful about like homies coming up right now is that in any war there'll be casualties. Like not everybody is gonna. That's why this thing is shaped as a pyramid. You know what I mean? Like in anything that you're doing, there's gonna be a pyramid. So I get that there will be casualties in the moving of anything that you're particularly doing. You know, which is sad, and it's a reality that I've come to.
But make peace
have
with
to
it.
Literally, yeah, I've literally been. It's something that like I've been fighting against.
You
for
died
so
with some
long.
homies in your arms. Type of
You
shit.
know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like
Come, we're taking.
like we're going together.
going
Like we're gonna, you know. And then the thing of not finishing with the people that you start with is sore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
After they made those decisions that you told them not to make as well.
or even like based on just the aspects of like. Just on a basis of not reading into the culture that you're getting into.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's like skateboarding starts in the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
It's like by 1960s, there's guys like Toga Johnston who are professional skateboarders.
Yeah.
It comes from San Diego. San Diego is a, it kind of like Durban, it's like a bit of a drug hub. You know what I mean? The drugs like land. And the thing is that those it eats up those kids, but then there's in the 70s there's a social group or like skaters that like or surfers in the 70s like 60s 70s who end up how can I say it, who end up being kind of like lower income who take on something, because that's always the thing, right? Lower income takes on something and then they live it. And then everybody else gets to a point where they're like, oh shit, this is really rad. You know what I mean?
They're seeing it from the outside now. Now it's glamorized.
Yeah, and then, you
the
know.
hipster style.
Yeah, hipster style. So like Alva, all these dudes come out in the 70s.
Is this the Dogtown era?
Yeah, this is the Dogtown era. And then by the time you get into like Black Americans like being involved in this thing like strongly by like the 90s, you're talking about well-off Black American kids getting involved in skateboarding, which nothing's changed. It's still the same thing in South Africa. People of like color who ride skateboards when I was growing up were people who relatively had cash. I mean, there was
like
Jeffrey, a friend of
skateboarding is only
mine.
recently starting to become normalized in the hood.
Yeah.
Before that, it
and
was
even
like-
then, you're talking about a situation of economic change, because that's the only market that's growing right now.
And the
is
moms
hood.
are younger and they understand the kids
Yeah.
a bit better now. It's
Yeah,
not like
or
ours,
even that they're
yeah.
overwhelmed. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like you end up. I mean, like I was talking to a friend of mine, Sven Kilcherman. And he's a skateboarder in Finland, and we were talking on WhatsApp, and then we were talking about having kids, and we both got to this conclusion, like, we've been raising so many other people's kids. That's why we don't have kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like the understanding of how much it goes to build a human, because you're interjecting these humans like halfway in their journey. You're like, yo, come here, do this, like that. Leave that one behind, leave this behind, you know, and then they continue and grow. You've seen,
and even like getting to a point
circles.
where you casting your back on nonsense. You know what I mean? And it's a hard thing to do. Like it's a super hard thing to do. But you as a person, you start to learn like
consequences.
You know, this person clearly doesn't want to buy boards or buy shoes or try further this thing. They want to buy cavelas.
They're
and do
not
the
invested
thing.
in this.
So it's like, you know what? Like I can't help you, my G. It's like the same amount of money that you're spending on these shoes is what I like, you know what I mean? Is some of what I'm bringing some of these boards into the country to do. Like you could even come into business with me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like I have an open door policy, but it's just like the ideas of like having people who don't take responsibility, you know what I mean? And then like also shout out to Sichaba, Triple S, you know, skate societies, Soweto Skate Society, and like all especially Sichava, like for holding it down and having, I mean, an immense IQ level. Like I feel like, nah, dude has an IQ level. Like he like just sees through the shit, you know, and of course bombarded by his and haunted by his own demons. So that's why like people are like sometimes like, yo, why are you hanging out with this dude? This dude's rough or whatever. And I'm just like, I'm an avid reader of history. These are the dudes that change things, you know, which goes back to the history of skateboarding. It's like, so when you see somebody who has that walk, has that talk, you know what I mean? Then you know, okay, cool, well, this is the guy.
Person that looks like they've lived a little life.
Yeah. Like even if they haven't, it's still like that level of like, I'm gonna take a break from this, and I'm gonna take a break from this because it's like self-destructive. But I'm gonna push this even though it's self-destructive. But I'm gonna see it to the end, and then when I get there, I'm responsible for me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, you know, like shout out to my G, like, you know, I like, you know, they're mad kids out here that are really inspiring me, you know, and based also, like I remember the one day a friend calls me, he's like, yo, Mos Def wants to go skate.
That's wild.
Yeah, like, so like, can you come?
They called you.
Yeah, they called me and they were like, Mos Def wants to skate, like, you know what I mean? Like, come out and skate or whatever, you know? And then, but
that's actually
his
crazy
kids,
though, shit.
Yeah, so his kids want to skate, like, you know, so I was like, okay, cool. I arrived there, Mos Def skating. And then I have this, and of course, like I'm raised by this guy. You know, your parents are off at work.
Yeah,
they leave you with money. What you gonna do? Go to music and go buy the thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like
full circle.
Yeah, dude, it's just full circle.
This is like when Daft Punk did the score for Tron.
Yeah, exactly.
Their whole image is like based on the whole
one
fucking
movie,
original
Dude,
movie.
you know what's also so crazy about that, dude, is that I believe that that's one of the best soundtracks of all. One of the best.
Dude, I haven't seen the movie.
I agree with you. Like
I used to listen to it riding to work. I think it's like an hour and some change.
I remember,
dude, I drive through traffic just feeling like I was in the thing. And then the fact that they gave them $1 million and an orchestra, my G.
Dude, I keep saying watch the movie.
I know I will, but like I need the time to.
I was like, I remember the first time, dog, the feeling. I know it's a score taking me to this place. Like I'm like, damn, like it's just freaking wild what they did with the score.
And it was a crazy time of music. Like fucking thingy's Greyhound was out at the time as well. What's it? Swedish House Mafia. It was a great time of music for you to just stick out like that and dance music because you're that dope.
Yeah.
With the score.
Yeah.
They did the shit.
Yeah, they did the thing. Yeah, they really did the thing.
Anyway, I want to hear more about this Mos Def story.
So I, you know, like hard-headed as I am, you know, I end up sitting down, whatever, and Mos Def sitting down, and then we have a conversation, and then I say to him, you know, I've come to a point where, like, if I see fear in anyone's eyes, I walk the other way. Like, it's like to me, it's like smelling like rotten food. Yeah. It's just like, it's a no-go. And he was like, oh yeah, man, that's dope, man. I you know what I mean? I like that. And then he was like, yo, come hang out, like, you know. So I went from like hanging out with these kids to hanging out with him.
Sure.
And it was 2 weeks. Of like me, like him calling me and being like, yo, dog, come hang out. Like, and I was like, all right, cool. Like, you know, I'm thinking like it's at some point this homie's gonna get tired of me, you know, but it went 2 weeks. Like,
that's usually what happens.
Yeah, because like in the beginning of any relationship, someone's like, you'll see if.
Yeah. It's like, and I'm not like,
oh, this brick is still here.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
maybe it's a little bit stable.
You literally raised me like a lot of my worldview is like based on. You know what I'm saying? Like on his worldviews through his music. Yeah. And then it's like, I'm not trying to fan out, but I'm just like trying to hang out with guy.
Yeah.
And then we hang out for 2 weeks. And I'm like, then he starts breaking down a whole lot of stuff to me. Like how like his masters for Black on Both Sides. He wasn't like he didn't.
Black on Both Sides was insane.
He
But
didn't.
anyway,
He didn't own the masters.
that's so
Signed the
sad.
contract. Then I start getting into like some like
Like I got
crazy
into Fella
conspiracy
because of
theory
Mos
stuff with
Def
him.
as well.
What's up?
Fella and like
Because of Mos Def.
Yeah. And then we like start getting into like some conspiracy stuff. And then after all of that, like I'm like, cool, what music are you listening to? Dude, he starts playing me music, but I don't like it.
Yeah,
like
sure.
all these rappers, I don't like them. And then like I'm like, but like, why is this guy listening to? Because now, now
He
like
makes this
I'm
stuff.
at the source. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like I climbed the mountain. Like and I'm now like, you know what I'm saying? Like I wanna taste this water that we like. This homie's like
Sure.
on. Like and I'm like,
I'm even
okay,
surprised he listens to rap though.
yeah, he loves rap. Like the homie loves rap.
Yeah.
Like he
Because
like,
there's so many musical references
dude,
within
he just like
a lot of
gets
his
to a point
albums.
where he like goes on at that time I think we were going through all of his stuff through his phone. We'll go through his phone. Then he has like moments where he takes a break and goes and sits on the balcony because he was staying at like Westcliff.
Yeah.
And then I just have to wait, and it'll be like over an hour. My homie's just on the balcony, like smoking a joint or whatever, and then like
You're
comes
in a
back, and then we
meditative
go
space.
through like we go through and we have conversation. But anyway, like having this conversation with him was wild. Like, and he's playing all this music, and only years later I got what he was trying to say to me. That like, if a kid produces his own music, raps over his own music, distributes his own music, he's a better rapper than a homie who goes and tries and finds beats. Of course, the quality of his music is going to be
affected.
But it's
Oh,
all
yes
him.
and no. but
Yeah. And this homie is saying like, look at these kids. Like they're doing the whole thing, they're producing the whole thing, they're doing the whole thing.
And you need to
You
look at
know?
it from after he's playing that his master stories too.
Yeah, it's sure.
Yeah, that's a huge context to it. I wish I was
It's actually
as
it's
smart as these kids
heartbreaking,
almost
man.
to him.
Yeah.
Like as smart as these kids.
But
He's
he's
saying
like-
that he
themselves.
adores.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes,
That's what the
yes.
homie is saying. And then
It's
like it made
huge.
me get to a point where I was like, oh, okay, cool. This whole trip that I've been on in terms of like looking at these dudes and then being like, I back this kid. Like
Yeah.
this kid is dope. I'm like down with him. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever. I mean, now they're coming at such mass. I'm the one who's slow. I'm not opening up companies fast enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not like creating spaces for them to be in fast
Yeah, like
enough.
facilitating
dude,
this
these
process.
kids are coming in hot. Like hot. Like a friend, like I had like a situation and with Red Bull where like I had to put an edit, like a skateboard edit together, and they didn't like the song.
Yeah.
Well, my man Pico didn't like the song. Shout out Pico, like, and I was loving the song because I'm like, this guy skates with me, he raps, like, why am I gonna put Ricky or like any of these? And for me personally, growing up, like, I grew up with these dudes.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up with Leslie's. You know, that's Leslie, Deleuze. I grew like they skate. Like
Yeah.
I grew up with Ricky's brother. And like, I mean, like I was talking to my girl last night, and I was like, dude, at some point I was sitting around looking at the people around me, and I'm like, we're entertaining the whole country.
Yeah. But
Like,
I edit. So like kind of like I stopped using overseas tracks. I think when I still in Cape Town. By the time I got here, I was finding this. Yo, send me your stuff. I made like a rule to never use international songs on if it's not local Durban, at least it's from Durban.
Yeah.
It's the point where I've used like I think it was Casper song. It was a local event. Cool Cats on there. I use Cool Cat's hook. I use Casper's hook, Cool Cat's verse, and we're out because it's a Durban thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's Durban, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So a lot of people always like, it's so simple. Like you speak, we want to build, great. My editing peer is now using a fucking Young Thug song that he likes.
Yeah.
It's not about what you're like. It's about what's
but
happening
it's-
in your industry, dog.
Yeah.
You have to feed it, and there's twofold. There's your industry, then there's the black part of your industry, always.
Yeah.
And you always gotta feed back to that. Most importantly,
Hey, but
because
also it's because also that nectar also is a bit sweet because
Mm.
like when you're editing, right, you there's peaks in the sound bars that you literally like because I figure like when you've produced something and it's art, it has an intro, body, and a conclusion.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
You know?
yeah.
And
It's a
sometimes
journey,
some people don't
effectively.
understand that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've learned like as a person that South Africa actually is body.
No, headline only.
Well, look, I did like a creative morning.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then my dad was like, "So what you gonna do?" And I was like, I showed him what I was gonna say, and it was about controlling your narrative, like that.
Yeah.
It's really something that is worth dying for. You know, like you like sometimes when my fridge is empty, I'm like, at least I have my narrative. You know, it's like when things are like really crazy sometimes, and I'm just like, but I'm like, I have my narrative.
That's what I've been trying to tell
Yeah.
a bunch of people around me is that, okay, fine, brands have money, but you need to understand that if you really believe in what you have, at the end of the day, a brand is just a company with a story.
Yeah, like
and
literally
you can start your
buying the
own
story.
company and your own story today by doing it your way. You say you want to, okay, for instance, sell pencils. Sell pencils, do them in a special way. The way they remove it out of the package is a special way. It's your story. When it grows to whatever it grows to, it's done the way you wanted it to do. Yes, there'll be mistakes, but it's still your story.
Yeah, yeah.
You always gotta, don't look out to get too much help, as opposed to look at how much you can help yourself before other people can help you. Like,
And the thing is that like it rightfully so that it's a hard. It's a hard.
not easy.
No, because what you're asking for is a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like I've sat with my friends, and it's like we're, you know, it's funny. Like this is a little backstory. My friend Sichava is probably the only person who knows me.
What,
You
like
know?
in depth.
Like he knows me because
Yeah.
he knows one thing about me. I love to cause trouble,
Yeah.
but I do it nicely.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
A
Like,
rebel with a heart.
yeah, I'm a rebel with a heart. Like,
Sure.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I love to cause shit. It's like, and he always says, he's like, it's so hard to like get to a point where I'm like telling people about you, dog. Because every time I talk about you, everyone's like, oh, nice guy. What do you mean? Like,
This fucking
you know what I'm
terrorist.
saying? Like, And then I say to him, it's because I control my narrative.
Yeah. Me and my friend call it perception management.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. Because for some reason, I was a fucking geek, but I spoke to a lot of girls in college. Some rumor happened with CeeLo's killing these girls. I was like, you know what? It doesn't hurt for this rumor to be flying around. I'm going to keep hanging with these girls.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I like dog, I was getting nothing. Nothing at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
It helps my social capital. I understand that. Perception management.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's something you really have to do and worry about, because a simple part that you can control your perception is just if you promise somebody something, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Dude, that-
it's like
you know
your
that
name
one-
is everything.
And
yeah.
you know what it is?
That's perception
That's it.
management day.
And
in the
when
simplest form.
And when you have nothing, right?
Sure.
When you more than anything, because it's hard to say. Like, I'm not gonna tell people how to behave. Like, I've kept quiet when I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
I've talked when I wasn't supposed to. You know what I mean? So I'm not really the greatest person when it comes to I've gotten better.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like, it really is it's really, really important to get to a point where you don't break the big ones. The small ones, I'm cool with breaking the small promises. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm agreeable. It's like part of like it's one of those things where like, for an example, like I remember picking up something or whatever, and it's like, it was like, black people are the 9th richest race or something like that. Like, it was like some stat like that. And I was like, to be number one, you have to be unagreeable.
Yeah, like
You know what I mean? Like, so we're agreeable. We're nice people.
Sure.
We're raised by the sun. I mean,
Sure.
look at our melanin. It's nice, bruh.
Vitamin
You know what I mean?
D,
Even it's so warm here. Hair has to even get out the way. That's why it's curly.
Yeah.
You know, it's good times.
Showcase.
You know what I mean? So we're agreeable. Like, we're agreeable people. So I know that I'm agreeable. So it's hard for me to say no. You know what I mean? Like it's a very, very hard thing for me to say
Yeah.
no. But the big promises are the ones that like
matter.
If I'm saying, Machi, I'm gonna be there for you. You know what I mean? Like I will work on that and I'll make sure that I do it. Even sometimes to the detriment of even relationships I've had with people, you know, whose view of what like a lover is being there solely for one person. You know, I mean, that's why, like, for an example, even people like, I mean, we can get deep or whatever, like political.
Deep is fun.
Yeah, I mean, political, political and religious and whatever. People have divorces. This man's talking all these nice things in public.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but in the back, he's got these promises that he needs to make and the things that haunt him, you know? Some of them get honey-potted. But that's another story for another.
What's honey-potted? Is it the one with, oh, he has been caught with...
Hey, you know, the camera is on, it's in the back. You know what I'm saying? Now you're like there and you think, now it's hard. You've got things, you're feeling good, you're feeling confident. Then a lady comes through, you don't know that she's sent as an operative.
My cousin travels a lot. His rule is I don't sleep with women outside of this country. That's his rule.
Yeah.
Don't sleep with women outside of his country.
Why?
I don't understand the rationale behind it. I'm not saying he should go cheat.
No. He works with prominent people. You know?
Yeah.
So when you're around, once you get to executive level, you don't be the weakest link in the chain.
You can't be.
You cannot be.
And the thing is that you... Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I guess you're going to say is that because once you're in the executive, if you're the weakest link, you're the weakest link to somebody important. You know, so you can't be the weakest link.
You can't be the weakest link. Yeah. And you need to get to a point where... It's kind of like Pan's Labyrinth. You know, like the movie?
I still haven't watched that movie.
Yeah, like there's a scene in the movie where she gets told, the main character gets told, don't eat anything off the table or otherwise the monster will wake up.
Yeah.
Have a diet, my G. Stick to it. You know what I'm saying?
Regulate yourself, man.
You must regulate. You must regulate. Like, not everything you must touch. You know what I'm saying? Or otherwise you're going to wake up a monster.
Yeah.
This is fucking true. And the thing is, especially when it comes to men and women, like the more forward you advance in your career, the easier it is to get women. But a lot of the time, you actually don't know what transactions are actually happening.
Yeah.
Because like you just caught up in the groove of things happening.
I got shit to lose.
Yes.
When you're getting early.
No, because you're in 4D chess.
Yeah.
Yes,
you know what
that's
I mean?
the thing.
You're in 4D chess. Like
playing in a Tesseract board.
Dude, I've also realized that there's like a certain social class I don't want to like go above anymore. I you know what I mean? Like I've been there where you're sitting with people and this person owns biggest insurance company in the country, one of the first, like, you know, and you in the family, and there are things that people are expecting of you, and then you get to a point where you're like, I'm way over my depth here. Like I actually need to
leave.
I need to go to where my people are and go hang out with my people. Like I need to hang out with blue collar people because
I'm not calibrated for this.
Like I'm not calibrated for this. Like this is for something my children are going to have to navigate, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 2 generations. And the thing is that, like, you know, there's this really cool book called that I also just before COVID I was reading called Factfulness. There's stages in the game, man. You can't cheat. Like you know what I mean? You can't cheat. There's stages in the game.
No shortcuts.
There's stages in the game, and the only thing about those stages in the game is not that I'm like getting to a point where I'm like, don't be ambitious, don't be this. I'm not telling people how to like regulate. I'm saying to you that like
the process on
when you come out of 94 into 98, there's gonna be a lot of candy. And your teeth are gonna rot. And then at 38, you're gonna have to keep going to the dentist. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't cheat. Those are the stages.
Like, you will pay the price.
You will pay the price.
You can't cheat life.
That's new money. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't cheat. You can't cheat. You have to get to a point where you make money, blow it. You know what I mean? Like, get to a point where you
get
finally,
everything you think you wanted again.
Yeah, finally your family gets to a point where you're like, actually, we need a financial advisor because
I'm such a
clearly
believer in financial advisors.
Alone, you know what I mean? Like, we're good people. We don't blow, you know what I mean? We don't blow money.
Yeah.
My dad's still like gonna wear like he was a key accounts director for Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Right. Ended up also doing the World Cup.
Yeah.
Soccer as a South African black representative of the game in South Africa when it was happening, and then for the first time, all the checks and balances worked out. When the auditors came in to come do the thing, it was the first time the auditors were like, no money was stolen. No, you know what I mean?
The books balance out.
The books balance out, and then, but now the books balance out and things are cool, and no one's coming after us. No one knows me. No one knows my. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's just stages in the thing, and there's things that you like that we all need to do, and it's good to get to a point where you work out. Okay, cool. Stage 1 is this. Stage 2 is this, and factfulness. I mean, I said it once to a friend. That she was from Sweden, and I said to her, I've read that book. And she's like, white men are just problematic, you know, in terms of like writing things. And I was like, but I felt this cat, what he was saying. Like, he may not get the numbers right.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what? You asking him to get black numbers right. You know what I mean? That's my business.
And like, even if you read, like, one thing I pulled from, like, just speaking about books, like, the only book I've read in the last 10 years, like, The Art of Getting, not The Art of Getting, it's the Capitalist Nigga one.
Okay.
Capitalist
which literally just
actually
says,
can't remember it.
The core of the book is going to tell you about Muslims. It tells you how the Muslims set it up, and it says, be like the Muslims, get back to your thing. It says, this is what the white people have done. Go there, go work for them, find out what they do, and build your own. Literally, it just says, go learn, build your own. Go learn, build your own. And, you know, in this country, we're just waiting for the people that don't need the dentists for the next 20 years to kind of bubble up into prominent right positions, and then, like, you know, do a little change or keep a new lane open for people to just work. And, like, because that's the only thing we're missing. It was nice. Somebody on Twitter saw a shady lawyer, and they're like, not in the name of my profession. They stood up and said, "You're being a charlatan to my industry. I don't like what you're doing to my industry. I'm trying to keep my industry pure of people like you." And basically, what dude was, he was like, they'd created a law firm to kind of be a law firm, but that law firm had no lawyers, and they'll just go to other lauriers to
consult.
Consult. Okay. But with the guise of them being a law firm, which they weren't, because there's no lawyers that own the company.
But then, you know, the thing about it though is that, like, what then do you? Like, it's free market.
No, it's free market. No, they weren't following regulations.
I mean, like, my thing is that, like, I have a family friend who was for years, her family, like, lived in Umhlanga. It was nice. Like, things were good. You know what I mean? Cars with televisions in them, which is always weird. But anyway, that was the...
We're going to chill in the car for dinner.
Yeah, no, for sure. But her family was involved in finding jobs for people, placing people in jobs, and taking 40% of their paycheck.
Oh, yeah. That's normal in South Africa.
Yes. But a whole 40.
I'm thinking, what's a recruitment agency?
That's rough, dude.
No, a whole 40.
Yeah, no, that's call centers. The whole call center game.
No, for
yeah,
sure.
no, the whole like literally there's entire call center games are so fucked up. Like,
because that's part of it. There's a part of that's just recruitment. It's a recruitment firm.
It's a recruitment firm.
But I don't know. I feel like there should be some regulation on it, dude. Like,
look, dude, the thing is that they need to be. But the problem is that, like, you know, I, like, also got into a point where I was like, why are we? Okay, so I found out the psychological level, rad, cool. I get the psychological level, like, I'm getting the psychological level, but, like, okay, what is it in terms of economics? And then this name kept popping up all the time on South African politics, like, especially foreign and domestic economic conversation was Henry Kissinger. So I was like,
I heard that name even.
Yeah. So I was like, fuck, and I'm gonna look up this guy, you know, like, I'm gonna get into this guy. Like, I mean, this guy is involved in all types of things, from, like, drug trade to all types of stuff, right? So, this is open information. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like him and, like,
It's not a conspiracy.
It's
reality.
not a
It's
conspiracy.
there.
Like, all you have to do is just like pick up a book called Henry Kissinger Trial. It's called Trial, and it will break down what this man was up to. So this cat, one of the things that like he's quoted as saying is that domestic in America, the problem is that the reason why they had to opt to moving out and creating black budgets and doing all of the conspiracy stuff around like drugs and using like drugs to fund this thing and do all of this stuff is because not the Constitution, but the Senate cannot make decisions fast enough for them to be able to be effective on their foreign policies.
Yeah.
So it's like Vietnam pops up, the Vietcong are doing this, we need to carpet bomb these dudes. But if we go to Congress, Congress. So if we go to Congress,
There's too many steps to be
there's
taken.
just too many steps.
Yeah, you can't just bomb another country in America. You have to kind of let either one of them know.
Yeah.
So
So let's
create
make money
ways around it.
let's create some
Like
money
the-
from some drug money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go and bribe some generals. You know, get a bunch of B-52 bombers, put bombs in them. Don't write this on the log to say that this thing has flown. Bomb the hell out of those dudes to show them that like we mean business. Come home.
But you can't track it back.
It wasn't us.
Everyone knows it was.
Yeah, because this thing is only made in one factory.
You know what I mean? You know, so the whole thing is that like people get to a point where they see the loopholes,
Yeah.
like, and they decide in a free economy that like I want to do this or I want to do that, and I'm not happy with how things are funded. But it's a very, very interesting thing that like morally, that's the only reason why I'm broke.
Regulations nails everything.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's like
I had a friend who made over like 200,000 in 1 year just from finding loopholes while he was in first year, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he figured out all these things where he's like, so if I apply for this and do that, etc., I'm gonna have 200,000 chilling in my bank account. All while my school's being paid for, and he did it. And he's like, the only thing he couldn't do was make any big purchases because like he knew he's gonna have to answer to his parents.
Yeah.
So he just balled out the whole
Yeah. It's like, and they are homies that get it. Like I had a friend of mine, Bolek, when I went to the international school. I was at the Harare. I lived in Zimbabwe for a while. Yo, shout out to my people in Zimbabwe. Yo, like what a good time. And Bolek had, and the Polish embassy had high speed internet. At that time it was satellite. You know, like it was the first time I saw that satellite stuff. I was like, this is crazy.
MTV
bandwidth online.
What, you downloaded a song that fast, dog?
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. And this was like early 2000, dude.
Yeah,
You know?
the dial-up was still right.
Yeah, dial-up was like.
I can imagine how expensive that must have been. Hey,
No,
like,
he was doing it through the Polish embassy.
Yes, it's a government infrastructure.
yeah.
And then like because like he was doing that, like there was some stuff that like websites we could create, and my man like created some like websites. And then whenever he went to Poland for the summer, 3 months he had money.
Sure.
You know, so it was like weird going to school with like cats like that, where you're like, I'm just trying to play, and homies are like, nah,
Wait,
bro,
I gotta do this quickly.
I'm trying to get it, like. You know,
There's levels to this game.
yeah, there's levels, dude.
Like, you don't have to toil unnecessarily.
Dude, he would go.
9 to
Then
5.
he would go to Poland, get the money, and then in Poland they had these like stadiums where you could sell counterfeit games, like.
Oh,
So he would buy them.
So this was the
Bring them
era
to
of the
Zimbabwe.
chipped PlayStation.
And then sell people games. So like he spent money in Poland, but then when he comes back, he's like making
Multiply that money.
Yeah, he's making money in Zimbabwe.
Store of value, bro. Moving into one.
I was like this cat, bro. Like
Supply
But
to
also-
that.
moving the stuff through a diplomatic bag. It
Yeah.
was dope, dude.
It's like one of the things. It's like since getting
was
into
dope,
like
dude.
crypto, it's like it's opened up my brain a lot in a sense of it's like when you start investing in something and then money actually starts happening from it. It's like your brain starts to notice more opportunities because of that one experience. So
Yeah.
it's like all of a
Dopamine
sudden
rush.
it's like, no, but it's like all of a sudden when you see something, it's like you're not just seeing there's something, you're seeing the gaps in it where you could actually plug
Seeing the
in
pattern, bro.
to be like, oh, okay, cool, that's where money can be made. But is it worth the effort? It's like, no, oh yes, etc.
Yeah. Which is also the luxury of like my life. It's like effort overload.
Yeah.
Before I go into something, I can evaluate that. I'm like, effort overload here. Okay. There's a lot of it's emotionally daunting, but
It'll make me feel
the
good.
reward is great. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool, I can do this.
Maximum dopamine.
You know what I mean? Maximum dopamine. Maximum dopamine, dude. I'm a dopamine fiend. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's an hour.
That's an hour.
That's
Good.
an hour. That was a very fast hour. It's nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, where can we get a hold of you?
Wait, I just wanted to touch on one thing. It's like,
Alright, cool, carry on, bro.
No, like regarding like the younger kids in terms of like the whole skateboard culture. Like I can imagine it's scary being in something that has no defined path for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the only thing you rely on is history.
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
and it's
like,
like,
it's
yeah,
like,
you're a
cool,
doctor,
I'm
you're
like,
a lawyer, you know
yeah,
how
no,
things
I'm
are going to
changing
pan out.
in the
You're
industry.
like, oh, in America, this is what's happening. In Europe, this
Yes.
is what's happening. So this
So,
is some of what I
to,
need to
like,
expect.
A lot of, well, the youth out there still within this culture, like what would you say? Or like what would you say to your younger self in a sense?
Dude, there's this really crazy cat at the moment that's very controversial. His name is Thomas Sowell.
Sure.
Thomas Sowell, like they ask him at the end, they're like, yo man, like what would you say to somebody who wants to be a Thomas Sowell, somebody who wants to be successful? He's like, and it's basically something that I was never really told and would have been useful, but like, you know, like again, whatever, I live my life not like in levels of regret, but he says, study and do something that's useful. I was like, damn, that's banging.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Like put down the
you wanna,
skateboard.
you know what
What
I
is
mean?
this?
Like, you wanna study something that's useful.
I always tell people that.
Like get into something that's useful, you know. And the thing is that like their channels. I can't tell you how to live your life. Like, you know, I can't tell nobody how to live their lives. I can just say like, if there's something really affecting you, and you're young, there's times to be able to like readjust yourself to feel comfortable. And right now the internet is rife with ideas.
Don't just watch music videos on fucking YouTube.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like it's also like when you do get your dopamine hit, make sure that it's like the process has been long. It's not like you get on your phone and then it's just a shortcut, because that shortcut, dude, all you're doing is you're depleting dopamine and you're not helping yourself. You know, like make it that the reward of that dopamine when it the idea, of course, is going to be bigger in dopamine rush than when you get it. So it's like the same thing as a car or anything. Like the idea of it is bigger. It's like yo, dog.
Yeah, it's like
and then you want to talk to
journey
people.
of it is more important.
The journey, your dopamine drops.
Like happiness achieved is happiness lost type of thing.
Yeah, but the chart though for dopamine from inception to goal, the highest part of it is the idea. So don't get excited about something that you just, you know what I mean, control yourself. And then get to a point where you understand that it's gonna drop. Like if people around you, when you give everybody the idea in the beginning, everyone's gonna be high. You know what I mean? If you see that everybody now drops, it's not you.
Yeah.
It's just the human experience of that the dopamine levels drop, and then when you finally achieve it, it's not the dopamine levels are not even half of what you had in the beginning. I think it's like 1/4. It drops, it depletes. When you finally have the car, you have this, or you have the thing that you want, which, again, guys, like, yo, less cars, man. Get on a bicycle. Yo, it's this thing of us not being physically fit is crazy. But anyway, that's another story for another time. But yeah.
Anything else, Prof?
I don't know. This conversation is nice, man. Like it's really cool. Oh, thank you for pulling through and
bro,
actually committing
thanks,
to this. Yeah, I'm glad I went jogging that day.
Yeah. Me too. I was also sitting at home. I was sitting at home and I was like, yo, man, I need to cycle. Yeah.
Fit Boys Worldwide. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
RadioDR Black House
House Talk. Thank you for listening.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's something you could probably like write off there to make it an hour.